In this Fusion 360 tutorial, I'm going to show you how to quickly model a box with a lid that insets inside the box for 3D printing. Fusion 360 is great for making 3D printed parts like boxes because it's a parametric modeling software. It's also important to keep in mind some of the guidelines for designing 3D printed parts. Unlike traditional manufacturing processes such as injection molding or machining, with 3D printing, we can make much thicker parts. So we can use the internal structure and the skin on the outside, the walls of the 3D print, to give it a lot of strength. It's kind of like having a truss. Rather than having super thin parts, we can make thicker parts and not have any shrinkage and also have stronger parts. So we're going to do that with this box. This is an exercise, so the scale will be really small so many student projects can fit on a single print bed, but you can make this box any size you want and just change the input dimensions. To get started, we're going to use rule number 1 in Fusion 360, create a component. Create new component. Name the component base and then select OK. There are many ways to create a box. In this particular case, we'll use the sketch method. So select Create Sketch, select the ground plane. Then under Create, select Rectangle, Center Rectangle. Click the origin, then move your mouse and type 40, tab, 40, enter. So now this sketch is 40 millimeters by 40 millimeters. We'll press E to extrude, and you can rotate a little bit to see what's going on. And in this particular box, we're going to type 25. It's important to remember the number 25. Normally, I would put this in parameters, but since this is a beginning exercise, we'll just remember it for now and be able to change it later. Next, we'll add some rounded corners to the box. Your 3D printer will appreciate not having these sharp edges on the side, and the box will look nicer. So click the fillet icon right here, then select all of the outside edges. In Fusion 360, you can select through like this, or you can hold Shift and orbit around and select like this. It's the same thing. Then type 5. Press Enter. So now we have these nice rounded edges. Finally, we're going to go ahead and shell the box. I'll click Shell under the Modify tab, then click the top face, and I'll press 3. So this is a 3 millimeter wall. We might think 2 is a better dimension, but remember, we can make it thick and it'll be extra strong, and there won't be much added weight or material. And lastly, for the base, we want to add a chamfer on the inside here. So I can go to Modify, Chamfer. I'll select this inside face, and I'll select the outside face here and type 1. Now that has a nice strong chamfer. Press OK. And the only remaining hard edges are right here on the top. And once again, I'll modify chamfer, select both of these, and then type 0.5. This completes the base of our 3D printed box. We could put some embossed text around the outside, and I'll show you how to do that at the end of the video. Next, go ahead and click the top level component. Remember, in Fusion, on the browser, these little circles are the component that is active. So if I click this component, the top level component is active. If I click the little circle by base, base is active. Rule number 1 in Fusion 360 says always make a component. So I'll create a new component and I'll call this lid. When you make a new component and you have the other component activated, notice that the previous component is transparent. To make this easier to work, and so we can change things independently, I'm going to use an offset plane. So this is under Construct, Offset Plane. Then I'm going to click this bottom face. And sometimes it's hard to select. So if you click and hold and then let go, I can select the different pieces. And I want the XY plane. Then my offset will be 25 because that's the height of the box. Then I'll press OK. Next, create a sketch on this offset plane. So this sketch is up in the air. You'll see that once we draw the sketch, but it's up in the air on that construction plane. Once again, get a center rectangle, click on the origin, and then type 40, tab, 40, enter. And when I rotate, you see how the sketch is up in the air and not down on the ground. Then finish the sketch, press E to extrude, and for this, let's go ahead and go up 3 millimeters to match the wall thickness. Once again, click the Fillet command, then select all of the outer edges and press 5 millimeters. Now that is nice and filleted. Then we want to make one more sketch on that construction plane. But by default, once you use a sketch or a construction plane in Fusion 360, Fusion hides it. So in the outliner, you can twirl out these little triangles, select the plane, and then we can select it again. So I'm going to say create sketch. Then remember, I can select through by clicking and holding, then letting go. I want to select plane 1. Instead of drawing a rectangle, I want this rectangle to be related to the inside dimensions of the base. So for now, I'm going to hide the body in the lid. So this is the base. And if I press P, this brings up the project menu and I can project geometry. And what I want to project in is this outside edge right here. So I want to project in this lip right here. So right on the edge here, I want to get this lip, and then I can go all the way around and get those pieces. So now I have all of those sections of the lip. And if I press OK, it projects those lines onto my sketch. So as you can see, these lines are up in the air on my sketch. Then I can press E to extrude. And this time I'm going to type -2. This will make a part that goes down, but it gives me a warning. That's because I hid the lid. So I'm going to bring back the bodies so I can see what's happening. As you can see, this is going down, but notice it goes down straight. That's going to make for a very tight box. Over on the extrude command right here, I can type in a taper angle. And sometimes it's hard to know which way to taper. So what I do is I always type in a big number. So it's 7. That obviously tapers out. So that means we need a negative number. So if I type -7, that tapers in pretty hard, 7 degrees. So that'll help that fit on better. And you can adjust this depending on what you need. You can go -5 if you think that's enough taper as well. And the important thing is under operation, we want to join. So it's going to join to the lid. I have the lid component activated. This is the other body in the lid, and this extrude will join. So now there's still just one body in the lid. For now, I'm going to go ahead and hide the base because we need to add some fillets and chamfers to the lid. First, I'll add a fillet. So I'll click Fillet in the Modify menu, select this edge and type 0.5 and press OK. And lastly, I want to add a chamfer. So Modify, Chamfer. I want to select this top edge, this edge going around the lid, and then the bottom edge here. And we'll just go 0.5. Adds a nice chamfer on all those pieces and press OK. Now we can bring back the base visibility. Notice it is still transparent, but if I select the top level component, now I can see both pieces. So now we have a really nice box and it should be fitting together nicely. The next thing I want to do is potentially add some customization to the box right here. So if I want to add text going around the outside, I want to activate the base. Notice if I click the base, the lid becomes transparent. If I click the lid, the base becomes transparent. In Fusion, before doing any operation on a component, you always want to activate the component. Yes, you can work from the top level, but then it's going to make a messy timeline. So we want to always try to activate the component we want. So I have the base activated. I'm going to create a sketch. And let's see, I'll create the sketch right on the face of this. I could create it on this plane there, but I think I'm going to do it right here. Then I'll create text, draw a rectangle, and I'll type in cool box. Then I'll have both of those centered, press OK, and then I can move this to where I want and finish my sketch. Lastly, on the create command, I can select emboss. It asks what sketch profiles. I'll select cool box. What faces? I'll select this face. And then the effect will be to come out. By default, it's usually something like 2 millimeters, which is really far. So we don't want something to stick out of the box, 2 millimeters. 3D printing works well in multiples of 0.4. So you can go 0.4, Or if you want a little bit deeper, you can have it 0.8. And remember, you can go inside, so cut away from the box, or you can go outside. I think I'm going to have it raised 0.4 and then press OK. So now I have some text on my cool box. I'll go to the top level component. Make sure you save your progress. And now this is ready for export to your 3D print slicer. Happy 3D modeling.